to Detroit in Black and White. Uh, Adolph Mongo. This is our Wednesday edition. Good evening, Allan Lengel from Deadline Detroit.
Good evening. Good evening.
And Jim Nardone, how you doing?
Good evening. Is Teresa joining us tonight?
Right.
Yeah. Well, we see you, Teresa.
Right. We see you, Lady T.
You shouldn't have said anything. We should have let her go. How you doing, Vanessa Moss?
I'm doing great. Good evening.
Got a lot to talk about.
Co-host, we got a lot to talk about. But before we get to the conversation, I want to tell our viewers, first of all, thank you so much for joining us on Detroit in Black and White. Second of all, we want you to hit that like button and we want you to subscribe. And more importantly, we want you to tell all your friends, everyone in your family, about the greatest show on these YouTube streets, Detroit in Black and White. You can catch us on all social media platforms, as well as hey to our Facebookers. I also want to say hey to some of our viewers, our regular viewers. So just give me a hot second. Queen B, she says that she's not feeling well. Hope you get better, but she couldn't miss this episode. Janice Saluk, Derek Henry, Edward A., Karen Winston, and Kenneth Powell, who always gives us a shout out. He tells everybody salute to all the guys and goddesses, and he asks everybody to like, share, and subscribe. Good evening, good evening, good evening.
Well, this is not the greatest show.
Why
well, let's introduce.
Okay, Lengel.
Okay, we've got a guest. Before we've got a lot to talk about, obviously, about the election stuff. But before we do, I wanted to get Mary Zatina on. She's the general manager of WDT, which I think is one of the treasures of Detroit, the Detroit media landscape. And a lot is happening. Welcome, Mary. First of all,
thank you. Happy to be here.
And tell us what's going on. I mean, we read about the Trump administration cutting off funding. Where's it at, and what does it mean to WDT?
Well, you have read correctly. There was a big fat target on the back of PBS and NPR by the Trump administration, and the president adopted his budget. We all heard about the big fat budget bill, and then introduced legislation known as a rescissions package. Rescissions mean Congress has already allocated money, and in this case, the White House asked that some of that be brought back. So Corporation for Public Broadcasting funds, which were already allocated in last year's budget for fiscal 26 and fiscal 27, were clawed back. The Corporation for Public Broadcasting is the entity created by the government in the 60s to make sure that we had strong public radio and public TV for every citizen, every resident of the USA. And they've been doing a fine job of that. But now they are without funding. And if the administration was really targeting NPR and PBS, they missed the mark, because what it's doing is hurting many, many, many small, medium, and large TV and radio stations all over the country.
Are we witness to the end of public television?
I don't think so. Here in metropolitan Detroit, we're a major market. We have generous donors. I think we're going to stay alive, but a lot will not. And you think about these rural stations, Native American serving stations, where they're the only game in town. They're going to really struggle. For WDET, it's called a community service grant that we receive from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. It amounts to really just a little over 6% of our budget. Now that's a lot. I don't have any reserves. I don't have any spare cash hanging around. But for some stations, their community service grant might be 40 or 50 or 60% of all the funds that they need to operate. So it's a serious issue. It's serious here in metropolitan Detroit, but it's very serious across the country too.
How many people have you laid off?
Well, I'm trying for my position to lay off no one. That will be a mighty effort, but that is my goal, to turn to the community. We WDT made a lot of programming changes in February of 2024. We added a lot more local programming, where 82% of every hour is local programming now on WDET. And believe it or not, in this day and age, our audience has grown 21% since our last Nielsen book. That's unheard of. So I'm blessed with a lot of new listeners, but now our job is to teach them about the public media model. That it's not free, might seem free, but we all as a community need to ante up and support it. If I could be 100% listener funded, I'd be delighted. That probably will never happen, but that's what I'm shooting for.
Let me ask you, the administration sometimes says, one of the readers said, public radio is fine, but it's too elite. And some people say, why should we fund it? It's liberal, left. That's the perception out there. How do you respond to that when people say those kinds of things?
Well, I've certainly heard that opinion. The liberal, left, woke accusations of NPR and public radio really are coming from people who are on the far right of the spectrum. We try to be factual, and because we've had federal funds, it's part of our mandate to serve everyone, not just serve the interests of our advertisers or our license holder, but to serve everyone in the country. So I've heard those concerns. They are exacerbated by the fact that a lot of very conservative people won't even answer our requests to come on the air and talk and provide both sides of a story. That's unfortunate. But we work really hard to tell the stories that are factual and tell stories, in our case, that nobody else in Detroit is covering. And sometimes that gives us the honor of telling the stories of marginalized communities and elevating voices of people whose voice is seldom heard. And if that's going to offend people, then they're probably not going to be public radio or public TV fans. But it's exactly what we do as a community service.
Go ahead, Vanessa.
We already have a viewer, Karen Winston. Good evening, Karen, and Deborah Harris. Karen said, "What is it that they want to control what we are exposed to, keep us dumb and blind?" What is your response to that?
Well, my response to that is we try to present facts, and the facts are not always what this administration has wanted to hear. There's examples from many countries over many decades and centuries where the first entities silenced are the media. And I love what you all do. I love what Allan has done for investigative reporting in this community. That's very expensive reporting. It's rare, highly skilled. If we don't have local journalism, we're going to miss a lot of facts. And information is power for our communities, and entities like Detroit in Black and White and WDT and public TV. We're here to tell our stories and share facts.
Don't you feel kind of out there by yourself when you see the mainstream media bowing and scraping to the administration, paying him off and all this other stuff, and firing talk show hosts because the people in DC don't like what they say?
It's tough time. and you follow media very closely, so you know. But Adolph, I don't feel like I'm alone. In late June, when it seemed pretty inevitable that we could lose this money, my first strategy was, let's fight it. Let's make sure everyone in our community knows about this threat. And we can't lobby because we're a nonprofit, but let's make sure people are aware of the threat and they talk to their elected officials. So that was our first strategy. But then we could see the writing on the wall when the House passed the rescissions bill. And we turned to our community and we said, we're predominantly member funded, and we need a heck of a lot more members for this march, for this fight. It feels like a fight, but I don't feel I'm alone. So we said, we kind of think we could get 1,000. Think we could get 1,000 before we have our traditional September fundraiser. And we said, let's give it a try. And as of today, we added 910 additional members to our ranks.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, it is great. So I need 90 more. Hopefully,
how do people donate? What's the best ways to?
They can go online to wdet.org, usually /give. I see you have support there. I think that'll get you there too, but wdet.org/give. And any gift makes you a current member for 12 months. And we need a heck of a lot more than just 90, but 90 more will get us to that 1,000 member goal. And then every year in September, we have our annual fall fundraiser, and we'll be on the air doing our traditional pledge drives, as you call them, in September. But we're expanding the Army, and honestly, everybody at WDET is giddy to see the comments that come in with these new member gifts. A lot of people were members. They thought they were members, and then they checked their records. It's like, oh my gosh, it's been a year or 2 years or 3 years since I've made a gift to WDET. So we've had a lot of people rejoining us. And they leave us beautiful comments. We need you now more than ever. Some of the comments have been kind of, I couldn't read them on air because they're obscene about the administration, but they put a spring in our step, and people talk about what an important part of their daily life WDET is. And, we're music, we're news, we're conversations, we're a whole bunch of different things. But what we must be is essential for metropolitan Detroit. And we're working hard to do that.
Mary, we have a couple of comments. One of our viewers, and I wanted to ask you this question. She believes that social media, this is Stephanie Jackson, social media has taken over public and the local news. What impact has social media had on public television? And then we also have a viewer on purpose. He says he will say that the PBS show Independent Lens is a personal favorite. He may donate because of these kinds of programs.
Well, thank you for that. I'm public radio, so send a little dough our way too, PBS. But I certainly wish them well. I will say, you asked about social media. Back in the day, the only way to access our programming was turn on the radio in your car and whatnot. Now, we have about half of our people who are listening digitally through streaming. We have a WDET mobile app you can get on your phone. We have people listening all over the world, and that's beautiful to me. And we have members in every state. But I think what this is showing us these people identify as Detroiters, or else they're smart enough to realize that the best music on the planet is happening here in Detroit and comes from Detroit. And they're listening to our music, they're listening to our news. But when I say we have 200,000 people listening to something every week, they really are all over the world. And thanks to digital as a platform for all of our programming now, it's been a plus. more work, more staff so that you can hear the story on the radio, and then you can also read it on our website, wdet.org. But it just means we have more avenues to deliver fact-based news, conversation. We have talk shows people can call in, and I'll say it again, the best music on the planet.
Well, public broadcasting, where I first saw I, Claudius years ago from BBC, and programs like that, you wasn't exposed to it on the regular mainstream stations, and
Yep.
and you go there. I always watch Channel 56 or listen to public radio.
Thank you.
You get a different viewpoint. Now, we got folks that want to have the same viewpoint on every media outlet. If they don't agree with you, if they control the purse strings, bye. So,
Well,
gotta
for
fight.
your viewers here in Detroit, the frequency is FM 101.9. And a lot of people say, oh, I used to listen to that. I used to listen to Ed Love Jazz. We still have Ed Love Jazz. Ed is 90 blah, 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 something, but he's still doing jazz on WDET.
Wow.
And there's a lot of fine programs. So if people who enjoy Detroit in Black and White haven't checked us out, please do that. 101.9 FM. And the station was started 76 years ago in Detroit by the United Auto Workers. And they were one of the very first entities to have a station on the FM dial. Thank you for putting that up, 101.9 FM. And that's why we're right in the middle of the dial. Now I'm dating myself, right? Because everything's digital now. But that 101.9 frequency, not over far to the right or left like some of your public radio stations are, right in the middle, thanks to our roots in the UAW. And they operated the station for 4 years. They were struggling financially then, just like now. And they gave the station to Wayne State University. They gave the license.
I remember that.
And they said, Wayne, you operate the station as a public service forevermore, as our gift to the community. And Wayne State has been good stewards of WDET. And we are 76 years young. And I don't know how we're going to get through this current crisis entirely. But by golly, we're going to be here for the next 76 years, too.
How do you donate, and where to?
Well, most of our gifts come in digitally, and you can do it at wdet.org/give. And then there's the good old fashioned write out a check and mail it to WDET at 4600 Cass Avenue, Detroit, Michigan, 48201.
All right. Well, Mary, thanks so much. And hopefully everyone will be tuning in. A lot of great programming, a lot of great music.
Thank you.
Week and, just all different kinds of programs. So we thank you for fighting the fight. We appreciate it. And good luck. We'll have to have you back again to remind people that you're out there and that, you're looking for more memberships. So
can I say one more thing? Because we in the media have to support each other. I sure hope everyone watching this right now will hit the like button and the subscribe button for Detroit in Black and White.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Together.
You got my donation.
all right. All right. Thanks.
Bye-bye
Thanks a lot. Thanks.
Vanessa, why don't you read some of the comments? Kevin Deach joined us.
Yeah. Hey, Kevin.
Kevin, my man, Kevin Deach.
Yeah. Hey,
One
Kevin.
of the last of a relic.
Right.
Investigative reporter.
Okay. So, of course, Kevin said, hey, looking good. Kenneth Powell said media is propagandized. G Money Hollywood, he has a whole lot of conversation tonight. He says the election turnout was horrendous. The people showed up like Detroit was the size of a warren. Voters have come to realize that there will always be false promises and no change. That's the bottom line. He goes further to say Mary has a monopoly on the race. Kinlock is in this for play. He's not a serious threat to her. He will not get the faith-based community votes either. The Kojic casted their vote for Mary Ann Perkins. We also have Stephanie Jackson. Um, Dominic Zarelli says, "Take it easy, sweetheart. I'm not sure we can fill the envelope." That was a response to Mary. On purpose, well, I've already read his comment earlier. Elaine says they stream with Bluetooth through her hearing aids while she listens to WDET. Janet Stalluck, who's a frequent viewer of Detroit Black and White, she says, "Thank you for bringing up the subject of public broadcasting. It's a great concern to her that those in high places are attacking these fine programs." We also have Edward A. He said, being a Marine veteran when he served overseas, WDET helped him continue to know what was going on in his city of Detroit. He said he will fully support. Queen B says some of the precincts had 0 voters. Some precincts have over 1,000 registered voters, and only low double-digit numbers turn out in some precincts.
Well,
So, of course,
G Money said it was like a Warren vote. No, it was worse than a city of Warren, because you get people. We look over at Hamtramck; they was voting like it was the last time you can ever vote in life. And other places they got a huge turnout, and I'm just amazed that. What happened? Let's take one quick break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to dissect what happened yesterday.
Okay.
Okay, we're back. You have a text messages. We talked.
I see.
What don't you read about someone sent to you?
So someone sent me a text message, and I get text messages all the time. But Stephanie Jackson says Mary supporters were harassing voters. Ashley River, shout out to you. Everyone should have at least $2 million in life insurance policy if you decided not to vote. Interesting. So someone texted me today and says the voters, he said, well, the people have spoken. There is a lot of history with the Black labor movement. Buddy Battles, Horace Sheffield, Robert Millender, Kenneth Hilton, Greg Mathis, and she is a product of that. The same machine that put Coleman Young in office is still alive and well. Her grandfather was one of the most powerful Black men in Detroit. She's been holding her own. You have to look at having people who know how to run campaigns running your campaign. Then she went door to door, the oldest strategy in the book. Greg, she was taught by the best, Greg and her dad. Clyde Cleveland, Jesse Jackson, Coleman Young ran Brenda Scott's campaign, as well as his own when he became judge. Not to mention her dad and all of his connections. None of the others.
Can I stop you?
Yes.
Can I stop you?
That was it.
That's bullshit. Because I was there with Brenda Scott. I didn't let nobody fucking tell me what they did. And they naming people that didn't even like Coleman Young. Now, I came from that, whatever you want to call it. And he don't have a machine that ain't around. Most of them dead, retired, etc. The only machine Coleman had was to get himself elected. And some of those people, and I'm not going to call the names, they hated the mayor. They hated Coleman Young. So all this revisionist history, I was there with Brenda Scott. She lost 2 or 3 elections for city council. And when I came aboard, we won. She was sitting on the board at Wayne State. So I'm old enough and been around long enough to know when it's bullshit, when people throw that shit out there. And I know where all the bodies are buried and shit. That text messages is a bunch of crock.
Well, I got another message and said, Well, the poll said that she was at 34%. Explain how she got over 50% of the vote. And
I can.
Like I say, polls don't vote.
go
No,
ahead.
I can. Well, I have a story today, and I think some of it's conjecture or whatever, but the poll was Ed Sarpolis's poll had Mary at 34%, had Jenkins at 17, Kinlock at 16%, with and then the others with 16% undecided.
Right.
Ed's theory is that that Mary got a lot of the undecided vote, which
16%.
I did interview, which would equal the 51% or 50 or whatever. I interviewed somebody yesterday. I went over on Warren near I-75. I was interviewing people. I put up a video about different people. And one of the women I asked before she went in, I said, "Who are you going to vote for?" And she said, "I still haven't decided yet."
Yep, she sure did.
That shows you that I think there were, when I talked to people over the course of many weeks and stuff, when I'd ask people who you're going to vote for, most of the people said they weren't sure yet. And so I think there was a significant,
and I think you're going to have that situation when you get more voters in the general election. I don't know why people think that the general is the most important part of the election. It really is the primary. What do you think, Jim?
Well, first off, I think the primary is the most important part. G Money Hollywood called it. He deserves a gold star next to his name. He called this election, he and Allan. It's how do you know what the people want when only 15% of them turn out?
Exactly.
10%. Exactly. Don't make it seem like we had a rush to the polls.
But I think that it is. You can't get to the general unless you can get through the primary. Right. And unfortunately, like 3 or 4 of those candidates that I thought were good candidates, they ran weak campaigns, but people should quit criticizing the victor. She did what she needed to do, whether she got help from her dad, whether she got help from the county executive, whether she got help from the mayor. She won her race. She did everything she needed.
Nobody trying to take away that she didn't win, but fuck, she's not criticized proof, and she's gonna have to take the criticism. When you're the front runner, when you call yourself the champion of other people, you should be able to dish it out, and you should be able to take it. That's all. There's no question.
I don't disagree with that.
I'm not picking on her victory. Enjoy the primary win.
I wasn't referring to you. What I'm suggesting is everybody's looking for an excuse why she won. She won because the majority of voters wanted her to win.
But she had a better organization. She got out there first. She raised a lot of money.
Exactly.
And she created the narrative. Oh, she did it all. That's what you're supposed to do. Textbook victory. Now you got a general. You're absolutely right, Jim. There's no question about it. Y'all called it. And so here we are, and we move on to the next phase. So
I think that one of the things that we talked about is this. Well, let me say this. Let me back up. First of all, now Detroit is in a position of making a historical decision. Whether or not we're going to have the first female mayor in the city of Detroit, or whether we're going to have the first full-time minister as the mayor of the city.
She's a minister.
And so, I know.
So we're going to have a minister anyway. We have one or the other. She's a minister.
That's true. She said she's a minister.
Don't try to hide that.
Female, that's true. She's a minister. She said she's been preaching since she was 14 years old. But the point that I'm trying to make is we're on the cusp of making history again. And so it's going to be interesting. I mean, actually, it started today. The general starts today. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next 5 to 10 weeks with this election, because you really didn't see a whole lot of fireworks, right? During the primary, you saw a little dirt that was being thrown close to the primary. But I think that we're going to start seeing some different things. Well, so this is interesting.
Well, you know what? Should we care about history, or should we care that they're going to fix some of the problems and the issues?
History is results. History is not getting elected, Adolph. Right. History is the results when you get elected. History means nothing unless you get results.
There's no question. No question. I agree with that. Allan, you've been in this game a long time. What do Kinloch need to do to make this competitive?
Well, I think one, he's going to have to raise a lot of money. Mary's got a lot of money. I know you always say money isn't everything, but I think it's important.
Yeah, it is. It is. When somebody else don't have it, it is everything.
And he's going to have to figure out a way to mobilize his church members who not all supported him. And so, look, he's got an uphill battle. She's got the momentum going. She's the favorite, but he certainly can. He could win if he play. Look, we see Chief Craig, who went from being pretty much up there at being a viable candidate to being, finishing behind like fifth, I think, behind Todd Perkins. I
think he was a non-factor in this.
Yeah,
but I think if Jenkins would have finished second, I thought she would have been the strongest candidate to face Mary for that women's
women face up.
Yeah, I thought so, but that is not going to happen. And you're right. Kinloch has a uphill battle. I mean, an uphill battle. Do we status quo, be civil and be respectful, or do we go call in BH Construction Company with all the dump trucks of dirt coming into the campaign?
Yeah, who knows? What's interesting, though, Adolph, I have to put this in there, is I wonder if, because you asked a long time ago, is Detroit ready for a woman to be mayor of the city of Detroit? I wonder how much sexism is going to play in this general election, and I wonder how much colorism is going to play in this general election. I would like to see some comments from some of the viewers as it relates to that.
Explain when you say colorism. What?
So when I talk about colorism as a Black person, in our community, there's a thing about light-skinned Blacks and dark-skinned Blacks. And there is I'm going to say a prejudice, right? So you hear people saying things about, they're light, they think they're better than, or the dark, you're not as pretty, or you're not valued as much. Colorism is very prevalent in our community. Mm-hmm. And it's something that we don't really like to talk about. I talk about it with my friends, but we really don't talk about it publicly. But that's what I mean.
It's like calling a blonde dumb.
Right.
Is a dumb blonde. That old saying, not everybody's blonde. But the bottom line is, and I have heard the criticism of Councilwoman Sheffield, which is unfair. People can't help who their parents are, exactly. What they look like, etc. But it is true, and it plays a role where you have people, they can't tell you why they don't like somebody, but you can figure it out why they don't like them. It's not because of their politics. It's not because I disagree on this or disagree on that. It's maybe how that person look. Prejudice is prejudice.
On Purpose makes a great point. Eric makes a point that I'm going to disagree with, because I think it's unfortunate, whether you think or anybody thinks that it's the uninformed voting base in Detroit. I think that's an insult to the voters and the people that went out there to vote. They went out and they voted for who they thought was going to lead. She has a proven record. Whether you like her record or not is a different story. But she got the votes. It's always a popularity contest. Every election is a popularity contest.
It is. And Kenneth Powell said it. Name recognition for the most part.
But I refuse to attack those that voted for whoever they voted for.
And I refuse to. When you tell folks, as a consultant, and you tell folks, if you're going to get in a race, get in it now. Right. Don't wait, etc. And for whatever reason, people are, I'm going to start after September, or I'm going to start after October. When Dennis Archer decided to run against Coleman Young hadn't decided whether or not to run for another term. He had served 20 years, but working for him, I knew that he was sickly. He couldn't do another term, probably die in office. There was a candidate, Art Blackwell, who was the chair of the Wayne County Commission, and he wanted to run. And we was pushing him to announce before anybody. No, he wouldn't do it. He said, well, the mayor hasn't announced, and I'm not going to go against the mayor. Dennis Archer came out and said, you know what? I work for the mayor. I ran one of his campaigns, but I think it's time that the mayor step down, and I'm running for mayor. And when he said that, NBD, who donated thousands of dollars to Coleman Young, said we're not going to donate any more money to Mayor Young. And it was like a dominoes, boom. And Dennis Archer had not 1 month head start, not 2 months. He had 4 months head start. By the time other people got into the race, basically he cemented his lead, and he raised the most money. Mary got out there the very first time that when Duggan said he wasn't going to run for re-election, she said, I'm running for mayor. She's already did a whispering campaign that she was running for mayor. And she got out there and she started raising money. She started putting the team together. She started talking to a lot of people. See, people just think I get on here and just blow smoke up people's asses. I know what's going on out in the community. Right. And that's what she did. No, I'm not taking away what she accomplished last night. All I tell folks is, that's the primary. Let's see what the opposition is going to do. Anything possible. I'm not saying that it's a slam dunk. I'm not saying that Ken Lott going to come out there and after a month he's going to be leading in all the polling. So yeah, we'll see.
But you know what? I'll make a comment, because a couple of G Money Hollywood said he's making a comment to me about colorism, and his opinion is that he says it has nothing to do with this race. Kwame was dark skinned, so it had no bearing. I said sexism and colorism. I know I said that. And Karen Winston made a point. She says if she was the shade of Viola Davis, she would have a lesser chance of winning. So, G Money Hollywood, colorism is real, whether or not you want to recognize it or not. And I'm not saying that, in fact, that is what's happening in this race. I said it brings to mind, I question how much colorism and sexism is going to play in this race. And if you think that it does not play a role, then I think you are sadly.
Well, it played a role with.
But it plays a role.
It played a role with Joe Biden said he made a promise. He made one of these promises that if he get nominated, he was going to nominate a Black woman as his vice president. Mm-hmm. Now, the most qualified woman, this is my opinion, that he could have went and put on the ticket, and they didn't, because they folks went berserk, was Stacey Abrams out of Georgia. They did not like how she looked, how she talked, and
didn't like her hair.
It was true. So they went and got Vanilla Ice sister.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I want to go to some more of our comments, because people are really commenting this evening. Derek Henry said, preach Vanessa. Vanessa's telling the truth by Janet Overall. Detroit Siggy says, laugh out loud, angry Black women. we have Candace McCrae. She says the problem is the record wasn't accurately depicted in the media. She also indicates that the voters were not informed. Eric Brown says no one, including the media, has challenged her on showing the receipts or what she says she has done. I think he's talking about Mary Sheffield. Stephanie Jackson agrees that name recognition is real. On purpose says Mayor Young continues to be one of my heroes, even in his afterlife. Trainee 05 says True Adolph. Quinn B says we knew Merrick was running years ago. And Eric goes on and said, Eric says, Jim, I've been to enough forums and spoke to enough people to state what I stated. Detroit has a woefully pathetic base of informed voters. This is not an opinion. It is factual. Ronald Hinkle Sr. says, preach, Rev. Ashley Rivers says the pronouns in these communities need to change. Oh gosh, Power Orgs. Good evening, Power Orgs. He said, all Kinlock needs to do is challenge her entire 12-year record. Mary Sheffield is running off of her legislation entitled the People's Bill. And after you look at or consider all of the legislation regarding these bills, you'll find that it's just pure bovine excrement. And on purpose says, in all fairness, Mary Sheffield is a go-getter. And Queen B agrees with Eric. She says he's correct. Her record has not been questioned, and she is forever taking credit for other people's work and taking credit for things she has.
But as a politician, that's what they do.
Out. Okay.
I want to ask Allan, before you comment, Allan. In the Jewish community, isn't there prejudice against Eastern European Jews as opposed to Western Jewish folks?
Eastern, I wouldn't. I'm not really quite clear when you say like East, like Slavic type.
Yep.
Oh,
and some people question whether some of the Jews coming from Russia are really Jews.
Oh, I don't hear a lot of that. I know, in the Middle East, there's, the Ashkenazi Jew, which is European Jew, versus the African Jews. My sister-in-law is from Yemen. She from Yemen and then Israel. She's, Arabic. She speaks Arabic and Hebrew. But I wouldn't say here locally really there's really that type of thing. But I wanted to address, like Eric is saying, that we have a lot of ignorant voters here in the city of Detroit. I mean, all you have to do is look at like Comedy Central with Jordan Klepper when he goes out to rallies and interviews people, and they say stuff they are just totally unaware of a lot of issues. We see like Jimmy Kimmel, like they interview people on the street. I think it's not, I mean, voters across America, it's not just in the city of Detroit. I think people underestimate sort of the sophistication of the voters here.
I think people just pissed off at that they don't think they vote count.
Exactly. I agree. You say sophisticated. I mean, I read something the other day where the guy, a guy commented, this was on social media, where he said, listen, people are sick and tired of being promised things and it's not delivered. So I prefer to not participate.
I hope you understand. I was saying that people underestimate the sophistication of the voters. I remember when somebody was pushing for the reparations, and we're going to have him on the show, and I said, look, you really need to explain this ballot issue. And they said, no, people just want sound bites. And I said, look, people are not going to vote for it if they don't understand it. You can't take for granted that people are just going to be patsies and just roll over.
And they're not. But I had, when we were on the radio at 9:10, when I had a caller, used to call in all the time, and he said, you're going to get mad at me for saying this. I believe we should put slavery on the ballot.
Right.
He was serious.
Right.
This is what we're dealing with. We got people that's thinking way out there. Now, this guy called all the time. He knew the political landscape. He wasn't stupid. but you got folks that, and Jim is right. I get offended when somebody says, "Oh, they just so stupid. They don't know what they doing, or because they didn't vote." A lot of people don't vote because one, they trying to keep their water on, or their lights are out, or they got no job, they living in terror from an abusive partner. You go drive down some of these streets, and you see, I don't know how people live like that. So that voting is not a number one priority. It's not the top 5 priority. It's not the top 10 priority. So we can say all we can say. Well, people died for this, and I saw that on TV yesterday, last night. I said that don't move people anymore. They don't care. You know, people dying not because of not voting. They dying because they sleeping in their bed, or they going to a gas station, or they in a store where a stray bullet hit them, or they get robbed or hijacked. That's why people are not voting. You know, so don't call them stupid. And we have politicians that they go out of their way to make sure that people don't vote. Want that 10% or 15%, and they can get their people out. They don't want 20, 30, 40, 50. I think the last time we had 50 or 60%, it was in the 1980s when they was voting on a special tax up in Lansing to stop the city from going bankrupt. So yeah, you know, I got issues with that, Allan.
Well, no, yeah, I mean, it's a shame how few people are turning out for these elections when it is so important. I mean, we're having a turning point. One, we're having really the first time in 12 years, we're having a change of power here in the city, and it's really important. And look, this we've talked about this before. The mayor who comes in is going to have more challenges than the mayor currently has.
It's not gonna be fun and games, and it's gonna have to make some tough decisions.
And we're gonna, and the other thing, hopefully whoever goes into becomes the next mayor hires the right people around them, which is really, I think, key to having a successful administration.
You can't hire your college buddies, your relatives, and all the other folks that we are seeing some mayors do.
Well,
You need a unity government, as I call it. Right. People that's going to disagree with you, agree with you, and going to keep you on your toes.
Right. I'm going to go to a couple of comments. Queen B says, imagine having a job for 12 years where you could have made most of the changes that you're promising as mayor. And I think in response to that, On Purpose says, when billionaires get tax money for stadiums and there are abandoned neighborhoods. Ashley River, thank you so much for watching Detroit in Black and White. She makes a point about immigrants understood taxation rules. That's why they win candidates allyship. Mr. Ducker said, Kinlock needs a political hatchet woman. And Deborah Harris, good evening, Deborah. She said, once upon a time, the brown paper bag test involved holding a brown paper bag against a person's skin. Individuals whose skin was lighter than or matched the bag's color were often granted access to social events, clubs, churches, and sometimes even jobs or educational opportunities, while those with darker skin were excluded. I will vote for Mary Sheffield come November. It will be refreshing to see a woman mayor in Detroit, Michigan.
And that's what she got going. Go ahead, Jim. You was about to say something.
That's just a great comment. I mean, she wants to see a woman mayor, and that doesn't make her uninformed. That makes her voting for what she thinks is change. We have to respect the voters of the city. I don't know why we wouldn't.
Yeah. Well, like Jim, don't listen. You the top cop for a long time. People people shot and killed people because they thought they wasn't they were disrespected and stuff. So we got folks that disrespect. The city of Detroit, people get disrespected every day. I used to hear it on these talk shows where they said most of the people in Detroit can't read or write. There's no hardware stores in the city of Detroit. There's no this, there's no that. That's all I've been hearing, you know. And most of the shit that they throw out there is just garbage. But
as Allan said, they interview people on these news channels that don't know who the last president of the United States was, what the vice president's name is, who
or Barack Obama in 9/11, he was he fled the White House.
Right.
Who fought who in the Civil War? Right, exactly.
Right.
But I don't want to disrespect. I don't think it's appropriate to disrespect the voters. There's a lot of people that went out there and cast their vote for who they believed in, whether it's 70 or 80 or 90,000 people. I'm not going to.
We used to learn about voting in schools. What happened to our school systems where you learned about the 3 branches of government and you go cast your vote? As a kid, I used to go with my parents when they went and vote. I used to sit and wait till they go behind the voting booth, and I asked my mother who you vote for. She would never tell me.
Wow.
I assumed was who she was voting for. I figured it out after I got a certain age.
Right. Derek Henry, he says Detroit voters don't matter. Duggan got elected as a write-in with an angry face. Candace McCrae said Durham for deputy mayor or Congress. Says, let me make myself crystal clear. I call them uninformed, not ignorant. There is a difference. G Money agrees with you, Allan. Flashpoint made the same point Sunday by differentiating the electorate versus the engaged voter. Queen B says wanting to see the right, and she capitalized right woman is what should be the focus. Kenneth Powell basically makes a similar comment to Derek Henry's. He said the candidates are mostly selected, not elected. That's that voter apathy that we talk about. Par.org says Mary Sheffield was on Ronald Martin Unfiltered recently and made the statement that Detroit has grown its population. But what she did not state was that this population growth was at the expense of losing a portion of the 77% African American electorate. So let us be clear that what Mary has in store for Detroit is going to be gentrified.
Is it a gated population when you get 400 people to move into Detroit plus?
Detroit would be gentrified just like Atlanta, Georgia, under Mayor Sheffield as mayor. In other news, the spirit of Detroit is alive in 2025. And Stephanie says, no, we don't. That was to Jim's comment. We have to respect her, yes. Deborah Harris says Detroit against everyone. Ashley Rivers says, what were Detroiters doing prior to 1761? Some of their accounts are still active. That erudition is still being excluded from city workshops. Adolph, most of the country can't read or write. Detroit is not alone. America is deemed illegal amongst the top 5 superpowers. Duggan got written in. With our poor illiteracy rate, still not better after 12 years. That's his opinion. On purpose says 1761. Girl, please. The population can't be grown with babies dying daily.
Well, I would like to see how many spoiled ballots.
Oh yeah.
One thing I can't stand fucking Robert Davis, but he has a point when he went to court. To be able to, you look at these folks counting these ballots and stuff. I'm curious to see how many was thrown away. It ain't that much because we didn't get a huge turnout. Last question, and I'll go to you first, Jim. What do you think your speculation of the voter turnout in the general?
I think it'll be higher. I think it'll be in
the
20s, in the low 20s. It's not going to be very high. I don't think people are that. engaged. I really don't, unfortunately.
Allan?
I agree with Jim, but I think there's going to have to be at least one or two debates. I think there should be, hopefully the media collectively will do a better job now of educating people about these two candidates, the strengths and weaknesses of both, and let people decide what's more important. And I mean, the media has been so scattered. I mean, I don't think we had a good idea of any of the candidates, really. There wasn't a lot. It was a little pick and choosing, but now it's down to two. The media hopefully can do a better job of focusing and educating the voters on this. So,
Vanessa?
I think it'll be more, but I think in consideration of everything, it will still be low by our standards. I do want to make a comment. I think it's interesting that there was some conversation about Durhal will be running for Congress. I don't know, for Rashida Tlaib or for what's his name? The guy with the
Shri Thanadar.
Isn't that awful? Shri Thanadar. But I think it's interesting that the day after the primary, you're talking about him running for Congress. To your point, Adolph, if that's what you're going to do, you got to get out early. That should have been if that in fact is true, that should have been your focus as opposed to this.
Well, I spoke to him this morning,
okay.
and that's why I don't think he was ready to announce anything, but when I told him I had heard that, then we had a conversation.
Why didn't he just go to run? And that's a waste of billboards, a waste of money. He could have used that money to get his congressional campaign started. But
let me ask you this, Adolph: does it not help his profile to have run in the mayoral race and then?
Not really.
No,
you don't transfer that over.
Okay.
Irma Henderson served 20 years on the city council, got more votes than anybody in every election, decided to run for mayor, and she finished dead last behind unknown folks. So it don't necessarily, we love you as city council, but we don't want you to be the mayor. Fred, you did a great job I liked his commercial where the folks said he did a great job over in his district and stuff. Maybe he should have stayed over there.
They had low voter turnout in his district. I mean, they don't vote much in District 7, which is interesting.
Yeah. So that district over there with Rashida Tlaib, you got Southfield. That's somebody, they don't know who Fred Durhal is over there. You got Detroit, and then you got Dearborn. Why you think Rashida jumped from the 13th to the 12th?
Right.
Because she jumped.
We lost the seat. Brenda Lawrence seat, lost that.
She went into an area where she got a ton of support. Entrenched. Listen, she's a congressperson that ain't about shit. She got no play. All she do is yell, and she's a one issue politician. So she don't represent she represents the 12th district part of it. The other part, they on their own.
I think it's interesting that Queen Bee says that Todd and Craig did not have commercials. It's still a bunch of billboards and signs, and still managed to get more votes than Fred Durhal. So she doesn't think that him running for Congress for a congressional seat is the best thing. She thinks it's laughable. But if people in his district has asked him to do it and he's considered it, again, I think that's something that should.
It depends on who. There's a whole lot of people
because there's other people that's in that race already.
You respect her
people
position.
That tell me to jump off the Ambassador Bridge. That don't mean I'm gonna jump off of it. Shit.
Respect her position, and also Candace's position, although they're completely the opposite. We respect them both. You're entitled to it.
Okay, we'll be back on Friday. Thank you, Allan. Thank you, Jim, Teresa. We saw you, Teresa. Should have left Teresa on. Let her comment. Vanessa, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank all the viewers and the comments. And we'll see you on Friday, Detroit in Black and White.